Good afternoon and welcome to St Peter Mancroft, to those of you here in church and those of you watching online. I'm Fiona Haworth, the Associate Priest, and this is part of our series reflecting on where we find meaning and purpose. And on Fridays, our focus is on our world. In this strangest of years, time spent in the natural world has been of huge benefit to many people. Some would even describe the natural world as life-saving, helping to calm anxiety and lift feelings of depression. Being outdoors and physical activity are known to support good mental health. So it is no surprise that many have found solace outside, particularly in the lovely spring and summer weather of the first lockdown. The shorter days and colder, more uncertain weather of this most recent restriction are not perhaps as inviting as the warmth and light of earlier. We are fortunate in having a dog, which means that we are out in all weathers. Our dog is always ready for a walk. Wind, rain, snow, fog are no deterrent. Recently, our morning walks have been taking place either in the dark or in the half-light of dawn. The light available changes day to day depending on the level of cloud cover and the phase of the moon. Some mornings, a bright moon near fullness silvers the water on the Broad and lights the way ahead. On others, cloud cover obscures the first faint light of the dawn. Walking in the dark is a disorientating experience. We know the paths well enough to have a sense of where we are going, and our dog has white legs and a white tip to his tail, which makes him easier to spot when he isn't too far ahead. We don't use a torch, allowing our eyes to adjust gradually to what light there is. Some early morning dog walkers and runners carry bright lights, making them easier to spot but dimming our vision for a time after they've passed. It becomes much harder in the foggy mornings we've had recently, and fog noticeably dampens down sound, so the distant noise of traffic from the road leading to the hospital is much more muted. The world seems muffled, and we occupy a small, still space, punctuated by sudden squawks of alarm from nesting moorhens, disturbed into sudden flight when our dog ventures too close to the water. Sometimes it is hard getting up and going out. We are short of sleep. The world is dark. The rain is cold and bed seems much more attractive. We stumble on the uneven paths. Water somehow penetrates our coats to drip down our necks. Fingers stiffen and ache in the cold. We come back wet and cold, gearing ourselves up to face the challenges of the day. Our dog is untroubled by such cares. The dank and dreary morning has brought riches to him that we can't begin to understand. He sprays water liberally up the walls when he shakes in happy exuberance before settling down to wait for the next excitement of his day, greeting our son as he comes downstairs, and shortly afterwards the arrival of his breakfast. And sometimes, if he is lucky, and I am feeling generous, a sneaked corner of Marmitey toast. For our dog, life is one long round of delights. But even on the worst of days, I would not change anything. Walking the dog in the dark catapults us into an unfamiliar world, one in which the shortcomings of our senses are exposed. Our dog seems unfazed by darkness. His eyes are certainly better than ours. He can find balls we have no hope of spotting, dropping them helpfully in our path. And he also has access to a world of scent that we know next to nothing of. Science suggests that for a dog's superior nose, the smells we can't detect build up a multi-dimensional map of the world, one that indicates the direction of travel of other inhabitants in the dark, the length of time since they passed, even their state of health. This talent for scent is what makes God's dogs so good at detecting all manner of things, from drugs and explosives to traces of virus or cancer in medical samples. It is sobering to realize that there is so much of the world we simply do not know. In the dark, we rely on our dog to alert us to other dogs or people coming towards us, and to draw our attention to things we would otherwise miss. The sounds of creatures scurrying through the undergrowth. He lives in a different world to us, one shaped more by scent and sound than by sight. Although saying that, he is by nature part of that group of dogs known as sight hounds, alert to every flicker of movement that might betray a squirrel or a bird, but equally perfectly capable of walking past an immobile cat as long as it is downwind of him. Out with him in daytime or at night, I am aware of things I would not otherwise notice. He makes me feel safer too. If he is not alarmed by something, there is probably little reason for me to be alarmed. The theologian Barbara Brown Taylor, reflecting on a night spent in a cabin in the woods to experience darkness without the comforting accoutrements of modern life, had only her elderly dog for company, and she observed that ghost stories tend not to have any dogs in them. Perhaps that is what happened when this first interspecies friendship began. The wolves become dogs that lived around human camps, pushed back the fears that come in the darkness of the night simply by their reassuring presence. Mary Oliver, the poet, writes of dogs, "But I want to extol not the sweetness or the placidity of the dog, but the wildness out of which he cannot step entirely, and from which we benefit. For wilderness is our first home too, and in our wild ride to modernity, with all its concerns and problems, we need also all the good attachments to that origin that we can keep or restore. Dog is one of the messengers of that rich and still magical first world. The dog reminds us of the pleasures of the body with its graceful physicality and the acuity and rapture of the senses, and the beauty of forest and ocean and rain and our own breath. There is not a dog that romps and runs, but we learn from him. They are a kind of poetry themselves when they are devoted not only to us, but to the wet night, to the moon and the rabbit smell in the grass, and their own bodies leaping forward. Mary Oliver is right when she says that because of the dog's joyfulness, our own is increased. Having a dog in our lives makes our world richer, fuller, mysterious and wild. He is a gift, a source of great joy, who opens to us a world we would not otherwise know. Some days everything comes together, opening us up to the wonder of the world, opening a way to the one who sustains all things in being. We watch as the dawn colors the sky, Our dog lopes after his ball across the frosted grass, and the crows leave their roosts, filling the air with their harsh cries, and we are thankful. And on other days, when the cold seeps in, our feet get wet, we trip on the dark paths, and knowing the walk is about to end, our dog takes himself off to lie under a wet bush where he is hard to reach. When being up early is more chore than delight, our dog still takes us out into the world and makes us smile. A prayer. Loving God, we thank you for the wonder and the beauty of this world, for its wild mystery and strangeness. We thank you for the glimpses of your sustaining love and grandeur within it. We thank you for the myriad life forms with which we share this planet home, and most especially, we thank you for those creatures that share our lives, bringing joy and companionship, laughter and delight, and a richness and deeper understanding of your world. Amen.